everyone, it's Mandy. Thanks so much for joining me for another process video. Today I have a couple of junk journal pages to share with you, and these are both created for the Vicki Boutin Junk Journal Summer Camp Challenge. So I mentioned in my previous video that Vicki Boutin has organised this challenge to get people to start playing with mixed media in their junk journals. And so there are daily prompts, and so I'm sort of playing along but not doing it daily. So I probably create about 3 pages a week. So this one is created for the brush strokes prompt. And so the idea is that you need to use brush strokes on your page. And so what I thought I would do is pull out the Colourpop paints, and I will tell you the colours that I've used on this page. So that first colour is Blue Hawaiian. I then used the orange, which is Orange Slice, and the bright pink is Sugared Strawberry, and the last colour that I'm going to use is a light pink, and that's called Cotton Candy. So these 4 colours are from 2 different sets of the Colourpop paints. So if you haven't seen the Colourpop paints before, they come in a set of 4, and they come in the cutest little bottles, and I love them. And I just really wanted to use some bright summery kind of colours on this page, and so that was why I chose these 4 colours. So I'm just going to repeat that pattern with the aqua, then the orange, then the bright pink, and then the light pink. And there you can see that I've got that done. And I really love how that turned out. Yeah, I just love how, bright and happy and summery it looks. So then I decided what I would do is that I still had some leftover paint on my mat. And so I thought, rather than just wiping it off and wasting it, that I would use it to paint some flowers. And so I've pulled out one of the Vicki Boutin stamp sets, and I'm using the flowers. I'm stamping with black archival ink. It's important, if you are going to add any kind of wet mediums or paint or anything like that, that you stamp with archival ink or something similar, because it's not going to run or move when you add those wet mediums over the top. And so I'm just stamping a couple of different sized flowers, and then I'll also stamp some leaves. And I'm not going to paint the leaves, but I do paint all of those flowers. And so, as you can see, I'm just using those paints that I've already got on my mat. But I do add a little bit more water to them, just to make them, I guess, a little bit more fluid and not so thick. Because I was painting over the top of a stamped image, I wanted them to sort of look translucent, a bit like a watercolour, I guess. And so that's what I'm doing there. So I'm going to paint the 3 larger ones with the 2 pink colours and then also the orange. And then the smaller flowers I'm going to paint with that beautiful aqua colour. I don't end up using the one that I'm actually painting at the moment. I don't end up using that one, but I do use all of the others. And so what I wanted to sort of do was match up the colours and do a bit of a tone-on-tone look. So match up the flowers with the stripes on the background. And I really love how beautiful these turn out. And even the one that I didn't use, I'm sure I will use that on another page. And I just love that it's a great way of creating your own embellishments. I love these stamps, and they also come with dies. So if you have a Cuttlebug or a Big Shot or something similar to that, you can just use the dies to cut them out. There isn't one for the leaves, but there is one for the 3 different sized flowers. And so it just makes it so easy to create your own embellishments. And because you have all these beautiful mixed media products in the Vicki Boutin line, the options are really endless. You could use your art crayons or your paints, the watercolours, anything like that to colour these flowers. And so I really love that that just gives you more options for your embellishing. So I'm just adding a little bit of that bright pink in the centre of the orange flower, just to give it a little bit of a variation in colour. So there you can see that I've finished those off, and I have cut them out using the dies, and then I fussy cut the leaves. And so I'm going to create a couple of floral clusters on the page. So the first one down there in the left, and then another one up in the top right. And as I said before, I'm going to match up the colour of the flowers with the stripes on the background. So you can see that where I've added the orange flower, there's an orange stripe underneath, and then the blue, there's a blue stripe underneath, and obviously with the pink as well. So I'm sort of going for that tone on tone look. And I really like how this is looking, and I just wanted to finish it off with a die cut that could sort of work as a title for the page. And so I chose that one that's from the All the Good Things collection, and I think it says something like "Capture the Life You Love" or something like that. And so I'm really liking how this is looking now, so I'm going to go ahead and get everything stuck down. I'm using my Helmar 450 glue to stick down the flowers, and then I do come back with some foam tape and add a little bit of foam tape underneath the leaves and a couple of the flowers just to lift them up and give them some nice dimension. And then I also add some foam tape underneath that die cut as well. I love, I've said this before, but I love having my embellishments stuck down at varying heights because I think it just really adds a lot of interest to the page. Okay, so I've got that all done, and here's some close-ups for you just so that you can see all of the details. I really love how this one turned out, and I really want to try actually this design on a scrapbook layout. And I think when I work in my junk journal, that's kind of the idea, that I want to sort of practice some techniques that I can then transfer onto my scrapbook layouts. And I really love how that one turned out. I'd love to try doing those brush strokes on a layout and those stamped flowers. I think that you will definitely see a layout coming up from me using a similar design and techniques. Okay, so I'm moving on to my second page now, and this one was for the prompt that asks you to mix together art crayons with iridescent glaze. And so I'm starting my page off with a bit of a watercolour background. So I've already applied some gesso to the page. I've said this before, but I love the effect that I get with the art crayons on a gessoed background, because I can really blend those colours together nicely, and I can move the colour around on the page. You get this beautiful pooled effect where the colour sort of pools on the page. And so that's just what I like doing. You don't have to add gesso to the page prior to adding the watercolours, but you will just get a different effect. The colour will sort of soak into the page a little bit quicker than it would if you use gesso, and you won't be able to sort of blend them as well as you would on a gessoed background. So that's why I do that. So I've chosen a pink art crayon, a red and an orange. And so I'm just sort of using the packaging technique to apply that to my background, and then sort of you can see that I sort of lift the page up and move the colour around a little bit. Also use my water brush to blend the colours. I'm sort of not cleaning my water brush in between adding the colours because I kind of want to get a little bit of a mixed, I want those colours to sort of blend nicely and mix together nicely. I did clean it before adding that orange though, because I did sort of want that true orange colour on the background rather than a blended sort of pinky orangey colour that I had already done on the background. So I did want that orange to sort of be that true colour. So that was why I cleaned my brush before adding this colour. And so, yeah, you can just see that I'm sort of blending it all together. There's lots of water on the page just so that that colour can sort of move and pool. And these inserts are great for adding lots of wet mediums. They don't buckle and warp. They're really nice and thick and great for adding your mixed media too. So there you can see that that's all nice and dry now. So I didn't use a heat gun to dry this. I just left it to dry. I do sometimes use my heat gun, but I had the time to leave it today. You'll just find that if you do use your heat gun, it might warp a little bit more than if you just let it dry on its own. So the next thing I wanted to do was add some stamping, and I haven't tried this before, but I wanted to stamp using the art crayons. So what I'm doing is I've just pulled out a piece of scrap paper because I wanted to see how it sort of turned out depending on how much water I add to it and that sort of thing before I add it to my page. So as you can see, I'm just scribbling the art crayon straight onto the stamp and then adding a little bit of water to the stamp, just using a mister bottle, and then stamping it on. I sort of didn't, when I did it on the page, you can see that I just stamped the 3 images without re-adding the colour or anything in between. So the first one's going to be a little bit brighter than the other two, sort of thing. But yeah, I really like how that turned out. I think I'll try that again because it sort of gives you some more options for using your stamps. And so I'm doing the same thing again now with the pink art crayon and a different one of those circle stamps. I love these circle stamps. I think I use them on nearly every page. I think they're just really versatile, and I think I just really like working with circles. Okay, so I've got that done now, and so now I'm going to work on what this prompt is. So the idea is that you use your art crayons to colour the iridescent glaze. So the iridescent glaze is really beautiful. In this, I think it kind of looks a little bit silver, but it's not. It's different to the silver. It doesn't have as much colour in it, I guess. So it's really easy to use your art crayons to colour it. You could also use the acrylic paints. So yeah, you know, the options are sort of there to be able to create your own customized paste. And it's beautiful and shimmery. I love how it turns out. So I didn't add too much. I just sort of scribbled. I used the pink and the red art crayon, and as you can see, I just scribbled it onto my craft mat, and then using my palette knife, I just mixed it together until I sort of got the colour that I wanted. If you want a more vibrant colour, then just keep adding more of the art crayons until you get that colour that you're after. And so now I'm just using my script stencil. This is one of the Vicki Boutin ones, and I've added that to 3 different areas on the background. And as you can see, it dries beautifully. There's this beautiful shimmer to it, and it just adds lots of nice texture to the page as well. I really like how that looks. So now I've finished on the background, and I've gone ahead and fussy cut some of the butterflies out of that patterned paper. I do this all the time. I love that pattern paper. It's great for, I mean, I really enjoy fussy cutting. I know a lot of people don't, but I find it quite relaxing. So I always look for patterned papers that I can use to fussy cut. So anything with florals or butterflies, anything like that, I love fussy cutting. So I cut out a few of those butterflies, and I'm just sort of arranging them there on the right-hand side of the page. And then I'm also going to add, I've used a watercolour sticker. I'm not actually going to colour this though. I'm going to leave it white because I felt like I needed something neutral on the page. And so I'm just adding it there at the bottom, and I've once again used foam tape to apply that to the page. So that finishes it off. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back soon. So I'll see you then. Bye.